Good evening, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Comic Roddery. I'm one of your hosts, Kevin Guillot, and I want to kind of welcome in all the different audiences we have. We have Spotify with us tonight. We have Pandora, iHeartRadio, and we'd like to welcome in our new Amazon partnership. Amazon people we talked the other day, and now we're on Amazon Music, so you can tune to us there. And you can find all these fun ways to tune in on your favorite deal. If you go over to comicroddery.com and just listen with, you can find out who you want to listen with on there. Also, our friends over at Comic Crusaders and our friends always over at NSC Live TV, which we are part of the NSC Roadshow. So you'll hear more about that throughout. But I know you want to hit me quit talking. You want to kind of get down to the business of things. And today is our continued Titans of Industry series. So we like to bring on the been there's, done that's, and the guys that have really helped shape the industry and help shape our childhoods in a lot of ways. And we want to kind of give a nod to them. So we'll have our guest come on here shortly. And we've been teasing about it, but we've been teasing with this ad you've seen this ad circle around a lot with one of my favorite bad guys, Vane. And then that will be Mr. Chuck Dixon. And we're going to talk a little bit about different things of his career and bounce around, and then we'll kind of get right down to it. But without further ado, let's make sure we get this party started and buckle up for another fun-filled episode because we're about to just bring it right to you. I still truly get jazzed every time I've heard that. One quick thing is if you order anything from Chuck, this is one of the cool caricature things that he's done that I always think's cool. And I'll kind of probably bring on some things that I've gotten from him. And that's where Brandon's going to give me grief for showing things. So without further ado, we're going to go ahead and start bringing everybody in. And first off, I'll bring in our two partners in crime. Hello in Utah.
What's up, buddy?
It's going, man. It's going. I am happy to report that we are not smoked out this week. So
that is actually really good. That's really good news.
And it's been rough, man. It's been the air content, as you know, has been horrible, and going outside and all those kind of fun things.
Oh yeah.
But it's not like this. It's not like sunny Florida, right, where Chuck's at, because
no doubt. He just has to deal with something totally different.
You
know, from fires to tornadoes to hurricanes. Why not?
Just a little bit of
everything.
At me. Well, and we have a special guest tonight as well, and that's a guest co-host. So we're going to bring in our guest co-host, good friend of mine and good friend of all you guys, and just a force in the comic podcast world, and has a bunch of great books we'll talk about later in the show. But without further ado, let me bring on Mr. Chuck Panu, your friend and mine.
Hello. What up, guys?
Hey, what's happening, man?
I'm doing good. Hey, what's going on? Nice to meet you, Brandon.
You too. You're outdoing us, Chuck, with your headphones, bro. I mean, right out of the gate.
That is an earmark move.
I mean, well played. Well played.
Guys, wasn't that a gift?
Up my headphone game.
In the podcasting world, go bright or go home. That's how it is.
All the listeners, you heard that.
Wasn't the story on that? Wasn't that a gift? Didn't someone send that to you?
It was a gift, yeah. And actually, let me try something.
Okay.
Okay, it's not working. Sometimes though, when you hook it up, it actually starts to it can change
the color is enough. So I mean, we probably have to put up some type of warning, right, Kevin? That says, epilepsy, Chuck,
seizure warning.
Be careful of Chuck's headphones. They may be a weapon.
Oh
God.
But yeah, man, no, so excited to be here. I really appreciate you guys having me on, and excited to talk with our guest tonight. I've been getting all my shop talk questions up in my head, ready to talk shop and hear what he's got to say.
There you go.
We were just hanging out with him in the green room, and for everybody listening, me and Kevin just get a quick blip into the who we're having on, and so when we say live, it's really live.
It's live. Yeah.
It works out really good. So no, and Chuck, I mean, we were talking. Hell of a resume. Yes. I mean, everybody's childhood, everything. So yeah, absolutely, we're excited to have him on.
Well, without further ado, let's bring on the man of the hour, and I'll kind of drop up some things here and there, and we can kind of start in with the questions. So again, let's welcome Mr. Chuck Dixon to the show.
Hello, all.
Hello, sir.
Hi, Chuck.
So happy to have you, man. Just been a big, huge fan. I'm going to go ahead and get my fandomness out of the way real quick. Been reading you for a lot of years.
Figures. Kevin always has the shows.
I'll bring out action figures and books. No, I do want to break out a couple things, though.
I knew it.
See, this is the part where I always get grief, but I'm going to do it anyway.
Yeah.
This is a really cool.
Oh,
yes. I had ordered some books and got the cool little sketch. And now this comes with, now you guys make sure if you jump on, eBay and go check out his store, which we'll talk about later.
God.
This is why I got it, because this was the Batman Spawn edition signed off by Mr. Dixon himself. So that's part of my collection.
Hey, Kevin, will you brush your shoulder off real quick? Everybody listen. Yeah. Golly.
Hey, when I say we're into comics, we're into comics. So I mean, that's just,
you don't even want to have him pan his camera and show you the Museum of Madness.
And of course, you got to have the Nightfall series. Okay,
Yes,
that's a must.
you have to. It's the law.
It is.
Hey, Brandon, does he know that this isn't a virtual signing? Is he aware of that? 'Cause he looks like he's about to walk up to the table and just be like,
"Here, can you sign my book, Mr. Dixon?"
I think you're onto something, Chuck. Sign your screen. I think I like it.
Not to plug, but there's a thing that we're about to do that will be that. We'll talk about another episode.
Oh.
That is coming.
Oh, yeah.
Interested.
Yep, for sure.
But that's a little bit. And you saw. Now, to get in the feel for things, right? I made sure I have my MTV shirt on. I've got my icy, okay, and I was playing some Galaga before the show, so I'm completely in the mode to talk all about it. So I'm ready. Plus, I've got my comic rack filled right now with the whole series of Nightfall. So
Cool.
I'm with it. So let's get down to it. I want to say right off the bat.
Do we have any questions from anybody listening? Let's just make sure, Kevin, that we let everybody listening and watching know that please
ask away.
Ask away. We will put it on here live. And Chuck, you have to answer
it.
It's not a pass or thing. No.
No.
Wait, which Chuck is he talking about?
Yeah, I know that.
See, I was gonna go on his
your name, bro.
And I was just gonna put up Panu and say, we had a typo. And it wasn't really Dixon, it was just Panu. But
we're gonna call you Pinky Chuck Panu.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
I'll take that.
But Pinky's gonna be on next episode. The guy that does Pinky and the Brain's gonna be on next episode. So that's maybe
Oh wow.
Nap.
So I can't be on that one, I'll lose my nickname.
Yeah. You'll have to skip that one. It's okay though.
We can say that is why the show was written. See, we can go there.
So Chuck D. We'll call you Chuck D and Chuck D. How's that? That works out. And Chuck D is actually a pretty common thing. He's a pretty well guy. So from my vantage point as a reader, right? There is an aspect of comics that's the artistic aspect, right? And then there's the story and the lead in and everything that comes with it, right? So tell us a little bit about how you would communicate as a writer to the artist to get what you wanted out of what you were trying to create.
Well, I write full script, which means I break it down page by page, panel by panel. The writer, the artist has all the dialogue, all the captions.
Okay.
So he understands he understands what I'm asking for.
Okay.
And the biggest mistake novice writers make, and a lot of guys say, a lot of people say, "Can you look at my script?" And the one thing they all get wrong is they're never specific enough to the artist. And they were like, "Well, I don't want to tell them what to do." And it's like, but they want you to tell them what to do.
That's really, and I'm glad that you said that, because of last episode, Kevin, right?
Yes.
He literally verbatim said, "I write for the artist."
Yes.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that you said that again, actually.
Yeah. And right before that, the episode was that we were talking to a creator, and he was working with an artist out of country, so there was a little bit of a language barrier. And he said,
the problem.
He said, lift a car. So the guy put a car in an elevator. So there was that whole little bit of a, So you gotta watch that stuff. I know it's you can't write this kind of stuff, right? It happens.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I mean, you can.
I wrote a story once for an artist who didn't speak English, and I had the character hunting elk. He had no idea what an elk was. Neither did his translator. I got back baboons with tusks.
Ooh, that's a good band name.
Which was cool. which
Yeah.
was cool.
So have you found throughout your career, I mean, your career is as old as me. Have you found that in the beginning it's always hard and you kind of figure it out, and then towards the end now you kind of get in your groove and you're like, hey, when I write this, there's an audience, right? You're writing to an audience, and then you're also writing for yourself. Like, let's not lie. Like, these are things that you want to get out of you, but then, so it's almost three things that you're writing for.
Right. Well, I have a story I want to tell.
Okay.
And if I'm doing like mainstream superhero stuff, I picture a precocious 10-year-old, and that's my audience.
Interesting.
So, but I still, I am writing to please myself, but I'm also, you got to remember, I mean, going into this back in the 80s and 90s, our editors, the ones who knew what they were doing, would always say, treat every comic like it's someone's first comic. Okay. And that's the best advice I can give anybody. And so that's what I would do. I would make it as clear as I could, the storytelling.
That's what impacted me as a 10-year-old. And I still honestly have the first comic I ever picked up, and that stuck with me and helped bring all this possible, and to continue to reach out to other creators, and that sparked something in me, like you said, and I was 10. So it's funny you say it to a 10-year-old because that's you hit the nail on the head.
But were you precocious?
That's undetermined.
And I don't even think very many people want to know what that word is too, how to even spell it. So, you can't use big words like so. But when you say write for the artist, right?
Yeah.
I've written screenplay from the standpoint of act, scene, locate, that kind of a layout, right? So explain a little bit about what that means. Are you describing facial expressions? Are you describing the background scene? Like, how detailed do you have to get when you're, writing to the artist?
Well, I give them setting. Obviously, where is it taking place? And then, time of day, weather, that kind of basic stuff.
Okay.
And then I give them the emotional import. I mean, I don't tell them what facial expressions people are going to have or anything else.
Gotcha.
Because the artist is the one doing the acting.
Okay. All right.
They're bringing the visual, emotional, because you want the artist to carry the emotion, not the writing. Right. You don't want to write, Jerry was sad. You want the artist to show Jerry being sad. So you got to think about that. I mean, the best example I can give is when Scott Beatty and I were writing Robin Year One, we didn't know who was going to draw it. So we wrote the whole first issue. And then we saw Javier Pulido's artwork. And we realized this guy is such a sophisticated visual storyteller. We rewrote the whole issue and took out all kinds of dialogue and we put more movement into the story and everything else to make sure, we showed all of his strengths because, we're all there to make each other look like geniuses. So, you got to collaborate.
And it goes back to a picture is worth 1,000 words, right? But those 3 to 5 to 8 words that you have on a page can convey, how things go. Right. Now, I've written things and I've had editors, and then I want to have Chuck P start asking some questions because homie he's ready to go. So my question is, I've written things and given them to editors. Are you in the same mind frame of once I write it and it goes to the editor, that if he edits whatever, that is law, that is the way it is? Or do you have some type of, feedback in how your words are edited?
Well, I'm fine. It depends on the editor. I mean, I'm fine with editorial changes. I don't see the editor as an enemy. I see the editor as a partner.
Well, the one thing I had a creator that we're working with right now say the other day, which I thought made sense. He said, once I write it, I'm done. I've written it. He said, then it's the editor shapes it, and then I go back and do a final pass to see how how it came about. But he said that's how he worked. Once he got it done, it was over to the editor. Then the editor was to go ahead and reshape it from there. So,
well, you've always got to let it go because
it's your baby, right? In a way.
But I know writers who will go over the artwork and compare it to their script. I never do that. I mean, if the artist made changes and it looks good, it is good, in my opinion.
I agree with it. Yeah, I agree with what he did. Oh yeah.
While Chuck's getting his,
thank you, Chuck. I appreciate you answering. That was, because there is that bridge that gets built between the audience and the artist, and the writer has a really, unique position in how the stories progress. And you guys can take the stories wherever you want.
Right.
I mean, there's endless boundaries.
Well, let's as we turn over to Mr. Panu there for a second.
Yeah.
I want to go ahead, like you said, a picture's worth 1,000 words. Here's one for you. This is kind of, if for those of you who aren't familiar with working, if you're not have not been at a comic shop in the last 25 years, but anyway, here's kind of a sampling of some of the different things. We'll talk about the Ask Chuck show that he has, Ask Chuck Dixon. We'll talk about Bane again, and there's the Robin he mentioned, which I did not break out, but yes, I do have. And there's Archaven. We're going to talk a little about Arctoons, and then of course there's a shot from the rack that I was telling you about that it's filled right now with the whole Nightfall series. And just want to go ahead and get some pictures worth 1,000 words. So there you go. So Mr. Panu, it's all you, man.
Thank you. I know that asking favorites is such a tough question, especially for a guy like you who's had such a prolific career. But when we're talking about artists, especially the way you were discussing them, where it was about trying to work best with the artist and whatnot, do you have any artists that you feel like you have had a really good affinity with, like the two of you really kind of understand each other and work really well together? And why would you say that is? Like, what is it about those people that you're able to work as well with?
Well, I've had a lot of longtime collaborators. I have Gary Quapis, who I'm working with now on something. We were on Savage Sword of Conan for a long time, and The Punisher and things like that. And we just have a really good rapport. Graham Nolan, my second most frequent collaborator. We created Bane together, and we're good friends. I mean, you become friends with these guys when you work together long enough, because you do have a rapport. Rodolfo DiMaggio was another one who comes to mind. My run on Green Arrow. The guy was just such an astounding artist, but he loved to draw the most difficult things. He would actually ask for things that other artists would ask you to keep out of the story. He did a high angle shot of an urban alley one time, and drew all the fire escapes. I mean, that's insane.
Wow.
Scott McDaniel was terrific to work with. I mean, I'm going to leave 200 guys off the list, but that's the problem. But I'm like, from my most frequent collaborators, and then there's Flint Henry, and Flint was different because his artwork inspired everything I did. I was drawing for Flint Henry because he would draw the most insane things and just put 150% into every drawing. And so, it sort of made me think of stories I wouldn't have thought of for another artist.
Now, I know that when you, sorry to break in. I know that.
Yeah, it's all you, bro. Yeah.
I know that when you started, you wrote originally as Charles Dixon on Savage Sword of Conan. I, of course, was a Charles myself, who is now moved over to being a Chuck. What was your reason for going with Chuck rather than Charles?
Well, I was always Chuck. Everybody always called me Chuck. But it was Cat Ironwood at Eclipse who just started billing me as Chuck instead of Charles, and it stuck. And the only time I went back was when I adapted The Hobbit into a graphic novel at Eclipse, and I said I don't want this to look like The Hobbit's being adapted by a sports cast. So I'm going to go back to Charles just for this one project.
Just take it up a notch. Here is
go.
just throwing back up to Sean Keenan over there, and Sean's in Australia. So when I say we simulcast out all over, there you go. You're talking to some people in Australia right now. So
late or early, whatever you want to call it.
Well, I call it time travel sickness from talking with different people. And like, okay, what time zone am I in right now?
So,
I mean,
that's my whole week, because I'm dealing with people all around the world.
Yes.
Yes.
So
I'm the exact same way.
Isn't it crazy?
I have people all the time because, as an editor, I'll have people contact me. Hey, we need to talk at this time. Okay. Are we your time, my time? And sometimes it's like, they'll tell me, especially someone in Australia, we're going to talk on the 14th. I don't think that's my 14th. I think that's
right.
I may be a day behind you.
Part of the ink team is in Australia, so I always kind of pick it up like, look, you tell me if tomorrow's bad, because if it is, I'm not getting up. I'm just staying in bed. So you guys just let me know.
Let me know how tomorrow goes. For sure. Chuck, Pete, you got the other? What else do you want to know? I mean, you got him right here with you.
I know, right? This is huge. I mean, of course, I'm excited about the editorial aspect of it, but I mean, geez, you know what? Okay, so are you mostly doing now with your own stuff? Is that mostly like creator owned stuff, or are you still like, is that your own publishing company?
No, through ArcTunes, I do stuff that's like it's kind of quasi work for hire. We have kind of a different
Quasi work for hire. I love.
Yeah, I
that.
mean, I own a piece of everything I do, but then some of the stuff I'm doing at ArcTunes is straight up creator owned.
Gotcha.
Either owned by myself or owned by myself and the artist.
What's the best way then? What's the best way for our listeners to be able to find ArcTunes? Is it just
You just go to archaven.com and it'll pop up and it's free. I've had a lot of people say, well, I don't know how to do it because I can't figure out the subscription schedule. Screw the subscriptions. It's free. There are subscription levels, but those are like, if you want to give us some cash, you can give us some cash. If you don't, just read them for free.
Okay.
Yeah. Just start, clicking on things that
Just
look
look
interesting.
around. Yeah.
So
this is fantastic.
But that works. Like, I mean, as a guy who's not making a lot of money, but still trying to make some to keep afloat, how do you guys kind of keep things going with this sort of, most of our stuff's free?
Well, we have a surprising number of people who have subscribed, and then most of our creators are have their own Patreon accounts. I mean, I have my own Archaven Patreon account, and that's how I pay my artists. Someday I may even pay myself, but at this point, I'm paying artists. But for me, it's about getting to spin the wheel and create, new stuff. I mean, I put something up today, and they didn't even know it was coming. Wow. So, and they were like, what is this? As long as we all play by the rules, and I'm all about playing by the rules.
Well, I'm one of the subscribers on the, the Ask Chuck, and that shows, but it's about to crest 5,000 people.
Yeah, bro. I was looking at it. I was like, holy cow.
Yeah, we're doing okay. We're doing okay.
It's now, is that 80? Is that the number of shows you've done so far, or what's the?
Well, I just recorded 80, and I really like this opening, so I gave that to you.
It was
awesome.
It was fantastic. So, Chuck, if you don't mind me asking you something really quick here, and this is for our listening audience as well, is there? It's kind of. It goes along the lines of trusting your decisions, which I believe is a fundamental part of our life here, right? Now, when you're trusting that what you're writing and conveying and all these things. So you had mentioned it earlier as far as letting go. So kind of describe that writing process of where you're like, okay, this is where it is. This is what I'm going to do. And then I'm done. Like, because I said, again, you can go anywhere technically. So kind of describe a little bit about the writing process and how you decide when you end.
Well, it's funny because I just completed my 30th novel, which is different than comics. And one of the most surprising things about writing novels is in comics you're formatted. You know how many pages you have, and you know if it's going to continue or it's not. So you're in that space, and I'm I understand the language of comics. I'm good at judging, okay, this story is going to fit perfectly in this amount of pages. But what surprised me about prose is I'll be writing along on a novel and I get to that downslope, where you're past the second act and everything's going great and you're heading toward your conclusion. Right. And then I'll say, the story's over. There's nothing else to write, because it's not a comic. It's open-ended. And I'll get to a point where I'll go.
Brought to you by Utah is our famous. This was last episode too. We had was it a fire truck last time, Brandon? Was it that came across?
You know what? I'm doing my best, Kevin. I can't determine when people get hurt. Okay, I'm trying.
I think it's because Cops is premiering tonight.
There you go.
But, the fuzz are right down the street.
That's the beauty of live, and we love live because it's just so much. It's laid back and it's fun and again, shout out
fast enough, okay?
No.
But the thing is, I mean, you can, I can write a final chapter, and I don't know what's the final chapter until I'm done writing it. I go, there's no more story. This is a good place to end.
Out.
It's over with.
Is it kind of an itch in your brain And what I mean by that is we've talked to artists that draw, and we've talked to artists that have, put out full-fledged series and all of it. Would you describe it kind of an itch in your brain that you just have to get out? If you don't get it out, it's going to drive you insane?
Yeah, it's a compulsion. It really is. And as I get older, the more of a compulsion it becomes. Which, people talk about burnout and writer's block and all that stuff. And at the beginning, you worry about that. And then after a while, when the deadlines are coming and you got to meet them and you meet them and you put a bunch of stuff behind you, you just don't even think about that anymore. So now I got to tell stories. I got to write stories.
Are you using pencil, which I'm not sure if any of our listening review audience knows what a pencil is, but a pencil is an
it's that thing you start, you put cassettes back together.
So do you physically write stuff down, or do you just type it up on your keyboard, or how do you do it?
I used to write it out, and I had a typist, and she gave up once I got sort of Conan, so I can't keep up with you.
She's like, hey, bro, I can only do 500 pages a day, so if you can limit your...
This was the 80s, right? So I went to an office supply store, and because there was no computer stores, and I knew about word processors. And I walked in and I said, I need a word processor I can start using this afternoon without reading a manual.
So can I just turn it on and start put paper in and just start going?
I got a Brother word processor and a laser dot printer, and I was off to the races again. And I hunt and peck. I don't type. But I heard
you can actually go pretty fast with the hunt and peck.
Well,
surprisingly,
Stephen King can't type either.
I know.
I hear he's done okay. So
yeah,
I've heard that name here and there.
Yeah,
he's done all right.
Yeah, he makes the rent.
Yeah. So you just well, no, that's cool, and I like to bring these things up for everybody, watching and listening. Is just whatever you're the most comfortable with. If it's a 1950s typewriter that you want to put a piece of paper in and do it, then do it and just get it out.
Some people are kind of superstitious too. That like there's a certain thing they've used that got them some sort of award somewhere.
I only write on,
and they only write on this.
When I first got to CrossGen, I didn't have an office, and the only computer I could work on was the community computer, which was in the middle of where all the artists were working. And I was there one day writing away, and a guy, one of the artists came by, he looks over my shoulder and he yells out to everybody, he's writing a story.
That's like we were talking with Dan Miskin and Gary Cohen a couple episodes ago, talking about that's what you had to do in the 80s and stuff. You had to move 70s and 80s. You had to move to where DC or Marvel was. You worked in the office, and the guys were down the hall. The editors and everybody. So that's what you did. In this day and age, everybody's everywhere, and you just there's so much stuff you can
now.
do.
Oh yeah.
Well, FedEx changed it in the 80s. So as soon as FedEx came along, you could live anywhere. And now you could be on the moon writing these things.
I think they're getting ready to do that.
Well, if Bezos, I think would be the first one up there, if anybody. So he's trying. There will be an Amazon on the moon by 2025.
We wish him. Hey, that'd be a good place to put a distribution center. Shoot shit down those. Oh yeah. So, do you feel like that your journey? We'll just call it a journey, right? Because I remember hearing a story about someone that had fulfilled their goal. Okay, let's just say it, a goal. And the question that was asked to them was, what would you tell yourself 20 years in the past about where you are now? And he said, to just enjoy the journey. You're not getting anywhere. So do you feel like you kind of resonate with that as far as, you've done what you've needed to do, but you've enjoyed it along the way?
Oh, I've enjoyed every minute of it. I mean, back when I was on the Batman books, just the time of my life, and all the guys working with me felt the same way. And we knew this is special.
Yeah.
This is a great time. Any time to be writing Batman is a great time, but this was a particularly great time because we had the best team of editors, the best team of assistant editors, and top talent, and the audience was there for us. I appreciated it. I can't look back and say, oh, I just sort of fluffed it off and didn't pay attention. No, I was aware every second. Every time I wrote the words Batman and Robin, I got a chill.
You're like, hell yeah!
In that same vein, we've got a listener sending in a message real quick. He said, "Hey, can I ask Chuck? He said, how did Tom Hardy's on-screen interpretation of Bane go? Did that nail in your head what you kind of figured for Bane? Is what he's, he just asked me.
No, not at all. It's not similar at all to what Graham and I created. The only thing I'm glad about is that movie made Bane a household name.
Okay.
So I don't have to explain who he is anymore.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
But why was it their interpretation from a Hollywood perspective of what you think, or was it him as the actor himself? Like, what was it?
Well, I mean, I like the fact that they made him an intellect. He wasn't just a goon.
Right.
But Hardy wasn't particularly physically imposing. He did a great job of in the movie. He's frightening, he's scary, and everything else. I just wanted something more, and I just wanted.
Who was the original Bane in the Batman movies? That would you have rather have had him?
If you had to pick of actors, who would you think he would be?
Yeah,
I mean, Dave Bautista says he wants to play Bane. I got no problem with that.
That would be cool.
He'd be actually a really good one.
Yeah.
But I'd love to get a Latino actor playing him someday. I mean, I was so thrilled when Henry Silva and Danny Trejo both did his voice they did voices in cartoons for him, and I was just thrilled both times.
Oh, all right.
Well, that question came from Mike Williams, so we just want to give a quick shout out to Mike. Say thanks for the question.
Thanks for asking that for sure.
Thank you, Mike.
If you had some nuggets, we call them nuggets, right, Kevin? So if you had some nuggets to share with either new and upcoming or editors on the show, or like, what are some nuggets that you feel like? And granted, you're doing this with Ask Chuck, and I understand that's kind of the MO with it. Problem. But what are some nuggets that you feel like you're like, hey, yeah, I wish I would have known this 10 years ago?
At the beginning, especially true now. When someone asks you to do work for them, ask them if they have the money. And then equally important, where does the money come from? So if the money comes, so if it's like, do you have the money? Where does the money come from? Yeah, I'm playing Powerball, and I'll be able to pay you when I win.
Yeah.
Sure. My mom promised to pay. It's like, okay, run away. When they say, well, I just sold a tech company. Yeah, okay, I'm in.
Yeah.
I just talked to somebody about that the other day, and they were talking about comparing our industry to others, like the sign industry or the roofing industry. It's not like you can go take the roof off of somebody's house. Once you put it on, they don't pay you.
Yeah.
Right. So it was the same. It's that saying. He said, just apply that to this industry.
Is
it
because
that's a good way to think of it?
Is it because you've been ripped off?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
If you've been in comics any length
I think anybody on this screen,
and
anybody in the listening audience can say big yes to that one.
My IP's been jacked for sure. Okay.
Well, the worst sin that a comic book publisher can do is to take advantage of the enthusiasm of their creators, because we're all geeks, we're all fans. And it's like, oh, I really want to do this, and they're like, okay, here comes a sucker. And I've had guys simply disappear. They publish the book and then they vanish. I've had companies go out of business. I have a book coming out from Antarctic now called Alias, and I did the book in the early 90s, and the publisher wouldn't pay for the final issues, so we never handed them in. And this is how bad it got. He optioned the rights to Universal for a movie. Okay. And it was all set to go. Frank Darabont was writing the screenplay, Academy Award winner. Gene Hackman, Nicolas Cage. I forget who else was going to be in the movie.
No big deal. Just some household names.
And the screenwriter called me, and he said, Frank Darabont calls me on the phone. I didn't know who he was. And he calls me on the phone. He says, how does this arc end? And I says, I'm not going to tell you because I haven't been paid.
Yeah. Pay up, suck up.
We're making a movie. And I said, yeah, and I need to be paid.
Yeah.
And I never would tell him. So now Antarctic for the first time is going to have all 7 issues. So, people that were fans of it can finally find out how the story ends. Maybe Frank Darabont will read it too.
There's another friend of mine in the industry that we were talking to the day, and he was talking about similar thing. And then he saw an advertisement for the books that he didn't get paid for, and they were offering signed copies. It's like, who signed it?
That's a new one on me.
Who signed it? You know, I was like, oh, that's bad. That's rough.
Yeah, couldn't sign a check, but they got those comics.
Yeah, somehow just put pen to paper on that one.
But do you feel like it's been a limited scenarios? I know that you gave that as a nugget, but do you feel like in your entirety it's been limited situations, or is it more of like you might want to check yourself every single time you get into some type of an agreement?
Yeah. You want to look at, you want to read the fine print. You want to make sure they're paying you. I've seen every trick in the book. I mean, the First Comics, if you remember First Comics,
Yep.
They used to do this thing where they would pay you for every other issue, hoping that you wouldn't notice they skipped an issue. And I don't know who's dumb enough to fall for that one, but it happened to me every single time. It was like, you just paid me for issue 10. Where's issue 9? Oh.
Yeah. That's like asking the electric company, you know what? Don't charge me while the lights are off.
Yeah.
You know, just
exactly.
let me skip the, you know, come on now.
I love that. That's my favorite part.
There was another one. This is a good one. I was working for a publisher. He was a printer too, and he would print his own comics, and he wanted to do new stuff. He was reprinting public domain stuff. He wanted to do new stuff. And so I told him, well, 22-page story, it's X amount of dollars. And he says, well, I'll give you this amount. And I said, but that's 2 pages.
Five at the most, bro.
I would have to write, he said, I would have to write 2 pages for free. And he says, well, just have them not doing much for 2 pages.
Yeah, just have them just kind of hanging out.
It's like you have no understanding of what I do.
No, not at all.
Interesting. No, and I appreciate you saying that. And I guess I'm just an eternal optimist, right? So I try to say, yes, those things happen, but at the same time, if it's a pretty common thing, then, well, how would you recommend, to our listening and viewing on it, how would you protect yourself, or what do you do to make sure that you do? Because again, you had leverage with that last one, right? You're like,
paid in
I ain't
advance.
going to give you jack, bro, until you hook me up. Is that kind of a way to do it?
If you're dealing with somebody that you've never heard of,
okay,
and you're signing a contract to do whatever project, ask for some money upon signing, like $500.
Something.
And you wouldn't believe how many times they'll, and then you realize they don't have any money. They can't give you $500 up front.
You'll weed out people pretty quick that way, and it's sad.
I had a European publisher. They had this huge, I was going to be doing 3 monthlies for them. And we laid out all this stuff, and I was going to sign this big contract that would lock me in for a year. And I said, I want $1,000 up front. They're like, oh, we can't do that. Said, well, then how are you going to pay me all the rest of the time?
Yeah. We had a video game company approach us here, I don't know, about 6 months ago, and they wanted to do this huge video game. And the pictures they showed me, we went on live and talked to them and stuff. And they had this huge glass complex and all this other kind of stuff, and 25 designers for their video game. And we quoted them a price, and they just like you said, they balked. And I was like, wait a minute, this should be like office supply money for you guys. This should
for a video game company.
Yeah, I was like, you guys should be able to get. This is like pencil and pen money for you guys. I mean, we're not.
I mean, they just throw money around like they got all of it in the world. I've worked for video game companies.
They haven't, and these people they haven't started the project yet. So that, and again, that was 6 months ago. So that ought to tell you that we were probably ever going to get paid. So
no, and it's these guys are all over the place.
So just be wary, just be leery out there, guys.
It's like I mean, I was talking to a publisher once, and they wanted me to do all this work for them. And I said, so what kind of royalties do you pay? And they said, well, we don't pay royalties.
You're like, oh.
And I said, well, why not? Well, we can't afford to pay them. And I said, do you know how royalties work? It's a piece of the profit.
And if you don't, ask George Lucas how that royalty thing works.
You're not fronting anything. Yeah, no.
Exactly. I said, I don't make any money until you make money, and you're going to make a lot more than me. I'm only asking for like 5%.
Right.
Now, how, if you were to look at, we'll just call it the entirety of creating a comic, from publishing to the actual printing, to the writing, to the art, to the everything. We'll look at it as the entirety, right?
Right.
When you time frame and try and put your mind, because at the end of the day, everybody listening and viewing, writing starts everything. It is literally the only way that all the stories that we love come to fruition, right? So when you look at that entirety of things, do you try in your mind to say, I'm going to have X amount of issues by this date. Like, how do you smash? Because we all have the same amount of time, right? So how do you kind of look at your time in regards to, I want to get this whole series out by X? And so just for everybody to kind of understand your process.
Well, I work way ahead of schedule. I always have worked way ahead of schedule, and that buys me time. You know, if some special project comes up, I really want to work on it.
Something always happens.
Yeah, and
Murphy's Law, right?
And there's no, you know, I writer's block isn't an issue because I've got the time. I mean, when I worked on Nightwing, I had the first 12 issues written before Scott McDaniel started drawing issue 1. And it's because I had all that time built in. I was way caught up on my Detective and Robin and all the other stuff I was writing. So I had 3 months to devote just to Nightwing.
Okay.
And without missing a beat, and then just went right back to my other books. You know, and I'm still ahead of schedule at the end of it.
One of the books I want to touch on real quick, then, in case I mean, a lot of people know, like, you know, Punisher, War Journal, and Robin, and Batman, of course. But what about tell our listeners a little bit about Airboy, because I know that's a book that's near and dear to you.
Yeah, Airboy was a book that everybody forgotten about. Airboy, but he was a big seller. He sold as much as Batman and Superman in his day. The publisher that published them, when the Comics Code came along, said, we're just going to publish crossword puzzle books from now on. They just stopped doing comics. and Airboy fell into public domain. And at Eclipse Comics, Dean Mulaney was always looking for public domain stuff to pick up. And he loved the Golden Age stuff. And he liked Airboy. And he called Tim Truman to ask him if he wanted to do anything with Airboy. And I just happened to be visiting Tim at the time. And Tim just puts his hand over the phone and says, Dean's asking about Airboy. And I'm like, Airboy? Airboy.
Yeah, you're like, yeah.
Because Airboy sold so many copies, it was actually an affordable Golden Age comic to buy. You could buy, you could go to like a used bookstore and find copies of Airboy for like $2 a piece. So I had read a lot of them. And then Jim Steranko wrote about them in the history of comics and all that stuff. So I was already conversant with the character. And Tim said, well, why don't you give Chuck a try as writer? And they did. And, it was the longest running title at Eclipse.
Well, the other one I was hoping to get in time, and I did not, was I do have the 50th issue of Airboy signed by you coming from you, but I just didn't make it in time for the show. So, but
it's coming.
I'll show the next show. Oh, it's just the mail. My God. I don't even hardly pay for like overnight postage anymore or 2 or 3 day or anything like that, because it's just not going to happen.
No,
it's just not.
Yeah.
It's not happening.
No.
Thanks for ruining the environment to get me my shite earlier than I needed.
Yeah, it's just not. Yeah, that's
one more thing you can blame on COVID, because I think everybody uses COVID as an excuse for everything.
Oh yeah, it's the best. It's going to be the best excuse for the next 20 years.
It will, because I had a phone call in the bank the other day about an international transfer.
Sorry,
and they're like,
COVID.
well, you can't talk to our international our transfer department because of COVID times. Well, wait a minute.
Like,
I can't talk on the phone with someone because of COVID times.
We shut the world down for the flu. It's so weird.
Hey, try flying right now, man. That's just bizarre.
It's always been miserable. It's got to be an absolute nightmare.
It's just a notch worse. I talked to Panu about this the other day. We probably ought to do a book about it. But my air travels have been crazy. Quick little thing on that was, I had someone cough on my arm, and in my comic mind, I just imagined the flesh just melting off my elbow as it struck my arm.
Damn it!
God. I just
Why
stopped.
would you do that?
And again, I'll tell off myself again. I cannot deny or claim the fact that my bag may have struck him in the face accidentally as I turned away from the cough.
Oh God!
I cannot confirm or deny that event ever took place.
It may or may not have happened.
Yeah.
It's funny because we're going to Emerald City. My partner and I, we're going to table at Emerald City later this year.
Really, a place called Emerald City?
Yeah, Emerald City Comic Con. That's like one of the biggest ones.
Like you're going to
Okay, Seattle. Yeah. It's a massive one. So we're going to be traveling to that one, and my buddy was setting up the table and everything, and he said, do you want to go? And I'm like, really don't want to fly. And he said, but before I even got to say it, he's like, but there's no way I'm flying. I would rather drive if you're okay with that. I was like, yeah, absolutely. And it's a 33-hour drive, and I don't give a shit. I'm driving.
Take the train.
I'm
I'm telling you, I went all the way coast to coast. It's the way to go.
Driving the car, man.
Train is awesome.
No, the train is awesome. Thank you for backing me up on that. It was one of the best travel experiences of my life. And you can bring your car.
We did a train tour of the.
That's how I got to Florida.
I'm saying you can put your car on the train, bro.
Yeah, when I first started working at CrossGen's in Tampa, I was living in Pennsylvania. I first started working at CrossGen. 9/11 happened, and my brother-in-law worked for the FAA.
Some date. Gosh.
Yeah, and my brother-in-law worked for the FAA, and he said, "Don't fly."
Mm-hmm.
Started taking the train, and I took it forever. I mean,
it's awesome.
We would go to conventions at CrossGen. We go to Chicago. I go by train. It took me 2 days to get there.
Totally worth it.
One time coming back, I was back before everybody else because all their flights got delayed.
Well, I was my first experience with now my grandfather worked for the railroad. My wife's grandfather worked for the railroad. My grandparents went everywhere by train. They probably hit all 50 states. They even went up to, Alaska by train. But anyway, the first time I ever flew, I was out of high school, and a friend of mine, they had a personal plane, and he was still getting his pilot's license. His family had money, and he said, "Let's go take the plane. I want to kind of get some more hours in." And I was probably, I don't know, 22, 23. I stupid, didn't care. I was like, "Yeah, sure, it sounds like great." And he said, "My family has a small plane," and in my mind, I'm thinking, Cessna is a small plane to me. I think you open the door, you get under the wing, you shut it, everything's fine.
Go out on the tarmac.
Yeah. He had a Tiger Grumman. And if you're not familiar with what anybody in the listening audience what a Tiger Grumman is, might as well picture a go-kart with wings.
Oh, snap.
Because I literally walked, they wheeled the thing out, and my mouth I hope it didn't show my face for him. I just went, well, let me back up. First, the guy that was flying the plane walks out.
Go-kart with wings.
Yeah. And the instructor looked like Old Man River. Okay. I mean, I got the beard going too. So he looked like 10 times. I was like, oh, this is his last flight. He's not
I'm going down with them.
Yeah, this isn't good. And they asked for a flight plan. Oh, we're not filing one. I'm like, oh yeah, he's planning this. We're going down. So like, was it that comedian talks about? He said, where does the plane take you? He said, to the site of the crash.
Oh,
and so that's all these things are playing in my mind,
Epic.
And I was like, oh, this is not good. And that's all Ron White joke. But so they bring it out, and I'm gonna tell you how southern we are here. Okay, I'm just gonna get that out of the way. The battery wouldn't start. Well said. I'm glad you pronounced that correctly. The thing wouldn't start, and somebody had left the master switch on, and I'm like, we're gonna have to drive now. God,
damn it, we're gonna have to drive. Let's go, everybody.
We jump it with a pickup truck.
Oh,
and my stomach was in my throat at that point. And I had been up in a helicopter before, so that's not the first time I had flown. But we flew from there to Austin, and I drove back. That was my first. But then I've flown a lot since then. But yeah, planes, trains, and automobiles, man. I'll get there however we got to. Wow. I used to drive a 14-hour jaunt to visit my mom when she was sick, and that was 14 hours one way. And I would, sometimes me and the dog would ride co-pilot, and I just, feed them fries, and or I just put, at the time I had a Corvette, so I would just pop the top, throw it in the back, throw it in 6th gear, and just book and have the radio on and just wind in my, beard. That was about it, man. That's how I had to stay awake.
Much better than flying.
Absolutely, couldn't agree more. Everybody
I got my wife hooked on it.
Take the train, please.
My wife got hooked on it because
it's like a hotel on wheels.
Well, I doped her up with Dramamine the first flight, and she tells the story. And she was like a 10-year-old kid. Woohoo! This is great. This is awesome. We took off the top. So it'll get you there, man. Like from Houston to Lake Charles is a 2.5-hour drive. When I flew home to check on my dad here recently. But it's a 30-minute flight, and that's in the air time. That's just just grasshopper, just like a little puddle jumper over there. But yeah, it's train for scenic if you want to just kick back and enjoy and have some Americana, look out the window and watch the scenery go by. We did a gorge in Colorado that way. they had redone an old train, and they would give you you did a lunch and a tour and the whole 9 yards, and just traveled alongside the canyon with the river. So
Lower level, everybody get the lower level.
Shout out, yeah, exactly. The sirens are going off. Well, we're in the fallout shelter. So that's
gosh.
No.
Can't predict everything, Kevin. No.
The good thing about that is it's a great time to stop. And as Brandon always said, a good shout out to all of our firefighters out there that are getting it done. Okay.
Yes, this year's been a little wild. So
it has been. A friend of my wife's, her daughter was going to college. We didn't know what for until she showed the picture, and she went into firefighting school. So
snap.
Hats off to all you people out there just getting it done.
Yeah, God bless you.
Yeah, for real. It has
no
been
joke. A wicked year. So
yeah, everything's catching on fire. So thank you so much for everything. Oh yeah.
What with that show in EmeraldCon, when I don't have the calendar in front of me. When is that, Chuck? Do you remember when's the EmeraldCon show coming?
December 2nd through 5th, I believe. It's a 4-day show.
December 2nd through 5th.
We should
in Seattle, correct?
Yep.
We'll roadshow that for sure, Kevin. I'll be up there. Let's do that.
Oh yeah,
for sure.
We got to do it.
Absolutely.
We'll make that trip.
I'll see you boys there. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it'd be fantastic.
Are you doing any shows, Chuck?
No, I'm taking the year off.
The whole year.
Shows. I've got a lot to do, and
there's only so much time.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
What if you do want to get if you really want to get a good Dixon book and an autograph and the cool sketch like I showed earlier, hit him up on eBay because he's always putting stuff up there.
Don't you got an eBay store going, bro?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I've been on eBay for a number of years, but since I haven't been doing shows or store appearances or anything like that, the comp copies are just piling up. I'm like, I gotta get rid of some of these.
All right.
Usually I would take them to shows and sell them, but I thought, well, let me put them on eBay and see what happens.
Yep.
Hell yeah.
Well, that's the way to do it, man. I've been I'm watching them pop up, and as they pop up, if I don't have them already in the collection, I'm like, yep, I'll take that one.
Yeah. I gave myself a 6-month goal, to see how much I could earn, and my reward was I bought myself a Henry rifle. So
nice.
Ooh, that's
fun. I am very happy to contribute to that.
Yeah. I was.
What's the handle for you, the listening audience there? What's the handle on eBay they need to type in to get to you? Because I thought that was great. So I don't want to steal your thunder there, so I'm going to go ahead and let you have that one.
It's Mother Chucker.
Yeah.
Oh, that is awesome.
I have a friend who's a Chicago cop, and that's his nickname for me.
That's so great.
That's awesome. When I saw that, I was like, "Oh, that's great.
That's epic." Yep.
My wife hates it.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I hate it because I didn't think about it.
It's trademarked by.
Yeah, right. Nicely played, sir. Nicely played.
Yeah, that's great. I love it.
Coming to a .com near you.
There you go.
So great.
Yeah, you got to watch how you spell that one. What might come up. So for our listening audience, make sure you spell that correctly before you put that.
My autocorrect will definitely make it wrong.
Yeah, it'll be like, are you sure?
Autocorrect has nearly ruined my marriage more than once because
like, honey, I didn't mean crap.
When we were and it changes it as it texted. It's like it's just kind of giving you the as on its way out.
Somebody behind our text message.
There's got to be because there was
autocorrect has got to be somebody just being mischievous.
It is. Well, there's a
gnome
toy store,
or somebody.
There's a toy store we do a lot of work with in Denver. We stayed in Denver. My wife and I lived in Denver for a couple of years, and his name's Brandon, like yours. But I was going to say, so I'm going to run by Brandon's shop for a second and check on a couple things on the way home. Well, it changed the message to I'm going to stop by Brandy's for a second on the way home. And I caught it on the way out. I was like, what? And I changed it. And I told her the story later, but I was like,
who's Brandy?
Who's Brandy? And what is she doing?
You got
and
a
why
lot
are you
of
stopping there?
explaining to do, bro.
Exactly. So, yeah. And then, there's a friend of mine that's convinced that Roombas are mapping your house for the government.
They are, bro. Oh, I'm so glad that you said that. No, I am not joking.
It wasn't this friend. It was another friend. But here's yet another friend has been converted to the Roomba.
No. It is not a conspiracy. Think about it, okay? All they've done is taken the data, right? These little robots. My brother has like 3 or 4 of them. They're amazing, right? It's like, who the hell wants to sweep? Just let these things go out and do their thing, right? But they have data that's stored on them, okay? They have to kind of know where to go, right? Oh, it is absolutely 100% true that whoever has a Roomba, they have mapped your home. 100% accurate.
Well, that's like Vizio TVs.
Yeah, they know everything.
Why are Vizio TVs so cheap? Because Vizio makes more money selling what you watch to people than they do making the TVs. They could give you the TV and make a profit.
Yeah, especially the new ones that can see you and stuff. Canvas, what it does is it looks at your facial expressions. Let's say that you aired a commercial. Yeah. Right. This is for everybody listening. This is legit stuff.
Well, see, we always tell people we have a touch of.
Hold up. I'm going to mute it. Oh, I tried. God,
we always tell people on our shows are educational. They have science. We have all these little twists and turns. So it's not just about comics, everybody. We've got educational tidbits as well.
Oh, yeah. But there is an AI built into what's called Canvas. NBC bought this for a lot of money. There's an AI that looks at your facial expression as an ad is being shown to you. Okay.
Wow.
As the ad is being shown, it will real time change what is being said in the commercial. Okay.
Wow, that's awesome. Well, I will tell
awesomely scary as hell.
This is my feeding into the
frown at every single ad you ever see anybody. Just frown at all.
Here, I'll throw this tidbit out there for everybody, and you guys can kick this around. I was in the hospital about this time last year. I ended up having a sugar spike and became diabetic in the whole 9 yards. And while I was in there, you can't tell everybody what's going on other than social media sometimes. And I was telling people, hey, I'm in the hospital, nobody can come see me. It's COVID times and all this kind of stuff. And I'm telling them, hey, my sugar's at this or that. Well, lo and behold, guess what kind of ads appeared in my, oh, by the way, do you need diabetes supplies?
No.
Do you need it? So I started having some fun with it because I'm there 5 days and I've got nothing to do but time. So I was like, let's just push the gamut, on this. So I started talking about karate and ninja, and I started getting all this. Hey, where's the dojo located? Not too far from you, And then just of course dragons and whatever I could, just any oddball thing I could think of, and watch the ads just come piling in. So those of you in the listening audience, go check out.
It's legit.
I'm getting no endorsement for this whatsoever, so don't think that. And I'm not endorsing this. I'm just saying, if you want to go have a good, interesting time, or you'll put it in the background, watch Social Dilemma on Netflix.
Yeah.
And it is all of the ex Facebook people and ex Pinterest and ex Twitter, all these ex VPs. Like,
you may want to think about,
Like,
we gave our souls away for free.
Telling you why they built what they built and how and why. And it's just, if you can get over what I call the hokey acting, because there's some scenarios they play in there about people around families around a kitchen table. And of course they didn't, pick the cream of the crop actors and actresses. So it's you just kind of work through it. It's like an after school special, you work through it, but the message is good.
Yeah.
That's, if you pay attention to how they do that, you can learn a lot on how all that works.
No, it's frightening.
It is.
Right. And the rules change every day. You can't keep up with it.
No.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I noticed on Facebook that Facebook spell check is different than other people's. If you misspell a word, they'll always change it to a possessive. They'll always put an apostrophe and an S.
You're like, this is not mine.
Like they're preparing us for socialism or something. It doesn't belong to you. It belongs to someone else.
It's not yours. You didn't say it. You didn't write it. Yeah.
We just gave away our souls for free apps.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm glad that I'm old enough, and I think that all of us are, and a lot of our listening and viewing audience are, to remember when we didn't have the internet.
Oh, man. Yeah, we went outside.
Cell phone. I remember when I got my first pager, I was like, oh, yeah.
You're rocking the pager.
It's really nice to be able to have both of them, right? In my engineering lifestyle, I say you're either a digital native or a digital immigrant, right? And so you have to kind of bridge that. Has that been easy or hard for you, Chuck, from the standpoint of how things went from we'll just call it an analog standpoint to a digital standpoint?
I miss the days when I could say I missed your phone call. I wasn't home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we're just way too connected now. Way too connected, because everybody's got to know everything all the time. This is insane.
And I think everybody has a point in time in their mind when they realize that we were that too connected, because mine was when the Kennedy plane went down, and they showed real time live. They're already out there in the water trying to find a plane, and I was like, that's a little too close. I mean, like, and then when Diana, her car got wrecked, you know, in the Princess Diana, they were right there. I mean, they hadn't even really got him out of the car yet. Yeah. I mean, I think that's a little too close to the action for my taste, anyway.
I mean, I'm old enough that I saw the first Sonny Liston Cassius Clay fight at the movies.
Can you remind everybody who Cassius Clay? Can you remind everybody who Cassius Clay is?
Muhammad Ali.
Yes. That is
making sure, you know.
That is such a classic rivalry there, and in of course the first and the second fight by that means. And I'm a big fight fan.
You had to go to the movies to see it.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That's really awesome.
That's such a classic, iconic shot of Muhammad Ali standing over him. And shouting at him. That's such a an epic thing.
All
kind of magazines all over.
Oh, yeah.
But it's he was training in the same neighborhood that a good friend of mine was. He was working in a handyman store. That's back when they had handyman stores actually in the neighborhood where you go ask the guy who owned it for what kind of screw you needed to go in a certain wall or what kind of fitting you needed for your bathroom.
Right.
And Cassius Clay would, when I was at the time he was still Cassius. He'd jog by. And he stopped. He'd stop in the store from time to time and chat with my buddy Steve. And he told Steve one time. He said, "Try to keep me from hitting you."
Oh snap!
And he's like, "No, okay, let's do it the other way around." He said, He said, "Try to hit me. Let's do that. You try to hit me." Right. And he said, "I'm just talking to him." He said, "I'm trying to be cool about it, and I'm just going to not let him know I'm about to swing." He said, "So I'm in the middle of talking to him." He said, "I just swung," and he said he caught my fist in mid swing. That's how fast he was back then.
Guy's amazing.
Yeah,
amazing.
And God, it's been years ago. I used to do some work for a casino, and he came into the casino, and but by that time he really couldn't even count his own money. I mean, he was so concussioned up that he was lucky to be standing. I mean, it was just a sad state of affairs, but he was such an iconic figure. Well, what so Mr. Panu, in the world of Chuck there, what's
that was literally what I was going to say. Yeah.
What else you have? What else would you like for either our listening audience to know, or what else would you have for Mr. Dixon?
Yeah.
For Mr. Well, you know what? I was thinking, we're talking about this prolific career. You've worked on all this stuff. I wouldn't use the word regrets, but is there anything that you haven't been able, any sandbox you haven't been able to play with, or any characters or worlds that you haven't been able to touch that you would really love the shot to take?
Well, I mean, I probably wouldn't want to do this now, but I never really got into the Marvel mainstream. I was the Punisher. I did Moon Knight, periphery characters, but I never got into that Marvel mainstream. Fantastic Four, Avengers, Captain America, that stuff. I probably would have enjoyed that, but nice. I was on Batman, so what the hell?
Yeah, right. If you got to take one or the other, you're like, okay, I can live with that.
Sure, yeah. How does that saying go? If you got to be somebody, be Batman.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Comics are all about clicks, and I never got in with the Marvel mainstream clique. I was with the outlier editors like Larry Hama and Don Daly, which I was fine
Larry
with.
Hama.
Oh, Hama's amazing.
What was it? Because I love Larry Hama. I obviously don't know him as an editor. Like, I've never been able to hear about his time, so I'm interested in that. But as a writer, I am a huge fan of his work. So what was it like for you to work with Larry Hama?
Larry to this day continues to be a bit of a pistol. He was. I loved his work. I would follow everything he did. If it was art, if it was writing, whatever. I really enjoyed his work. I didn't know anything about him. And an artist I knew, Hilary Barta, told me, this is early in my career, very early days, said that Larry was bringing back Savage Tales, and he was going to make an anthology title. It's all going to be war and Western stories. And I'm like, oh, man, I got to get in on this. I love that stuff. And so he said, well, call Larry, but be careful because he can be a bit of a bastard. So I was like armed up, and I'm not like the most outgoing person. I'm a geeky comic book guy, right? But I ginned up the courage. I called Larry.
I like that. I ginned up the courage.
Larry's got this basso deep voice, and he's like, never heard of me. Let me know he never heard of me.
Yeah, like you owe him money or something.
Yeah. And he said,
Hey, bro.
he says, I heard you doing this book. I really want to be on it. And he goes, yeah, well, why? Why, and why should I take you? And I said, because you need me.
And
he goes, why do I need you? And I
Right.
said, look, correct me if I'm wrong, but most comic book writers don't know which end of a gun the bullets come out of. And he goes, well, you're right. And so he said, okay, if you have any ideas, send them to me. He says, I'll see if I need you.
Damn.
So,
all right.
I sent him about a dozen, pitches, and he bought 6 of them.
there you
And
go.
I was working as a security guard at the time at a big insurance company. And he called there one day and he said, these Westerns that you wrote, do you mind if I give them to John Severin? And I was like, what?
Yeah. You're like, well, if you have to, I mean,
Yeah. And then he told me
I'm down if you wanted to do it.
he told me in recent years that Severin asked for me, which, wow, that's even cooler.
Wow, even
Yeah.
cooler.
Because I was
Absolutely.
just starting out, but the thing is, he was known for putting you through the test of fire. And if you got through the test of fire, he was great. He couldn't be more generous and kind to you, but you had to get through the acid test.
Yeah.
He said he would say the most horrible things to artists. So they would come back at him, and he did it to writers too. He once told an artist, and this guy's a legend now, this artist. The guy calls him on the phone, says, I want to show you my portfolio. And Larry says, don't bother, you suck.
Oh,
No. And
Okay,
the guy says, what, you've seen my work
thanks,
before?
bro.
And he goes, no, I can tell by talking to you on the phone that you suck.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. That's
Now, the artist said, I never went in. I said, that was your mistake. You should have gone in.
You have
just
to-
never know.
oh,
You never know until you try.
Face is so much better. Yeah.
Yeah, but he told. I mean, I'm talking guys that you would know their names. He told one guy, "Do you know what the word awful means?"
Oh my gosh.
And then another guy, you should go and see if you can get your job at the bus terminal back. I mean,
But are all editors in Panu?
No.
But it seems like I
No,
guess
Larry
the
was
connotation that I hear, right,
No.
and maybe it's just me, is that the editors are just like these evil bastards that are like, "Hey, your story sucks, your character sucks." Like,
they're
is
evil.
that how it is?
No, they're evil, but they don't have the cojones to be as confrontational as Larry was. Larry would be right in your face.
He'd
he'd
be
tell you
like,
right to
"Hey,
your
bro,
face.
your stuff
Now,
sucks."
Back
and
when
here's
you guys
why.
were all together, like, did you work in the offices where DC was at? No.
No, I would visit. Even
Okay.
when I was like doing 4 titles, I would still go up once a month.
Okay.
And I would spend 2
face.
days up there, and I'd stay over because, you want to show your face. That's the way you got more.
Oh
work.
yeah.
Because they forget about you if they don't see you. And I did the same thing. You go up to DC, you visit DC, then you go over to Marvel and you visit them.
All right.
And, because I remember saying to Larry when I was working for him, I'd never met him. And I said, do you want me to come up for lunch? And he's like, why the hell would I want to have lunch with you?
Oh man.
And then finally he said, well, I want you to come up for lunch. Right. So I come up for lunch and I'm sitting. He had an assistant editor who looked like a biker chick. And he's not there yet. So Larry's not here yet. So sit on the sofa. He had a sofa. So I'm sitting on the sofa waiting for Larry. Larry comes in, sees me. He's got a briefcase. And he looks at me and he goes, who are you? I said, I'm Chuck Dixon. You asked me to come up for lunch. And he goes, was that today?
Oh, snap.
Yeah. You
So
again.
So then he sits down at his desk. He pops the briefcase open. There's only 2 things in the briefcase. There's a 3 Stooges VHS tape and a Colt 45 automatic.
Oh,
Nice.
And he looks
what
over at
in
he
the
looks,
hell?
he looks over at me to see what my reaction is.
Yeah, I would
And I
think
said,
any person's reaction. First,
said,
no one knows who the 3 Stooges is.
Yeah.
2,
I said, is that
why
I said,
you got a gun, bro?
I said, is that a government model? And from that moment on, he couldn't do enough for me.
He was like, "You're in, bro."
That sounds like the lawyer my dad had years ago. That was on the wrong end of town, and when he answered the door, he had the holster right here in a 38. He'd already pulled the 38, answering the door. This is back in the 60s, and I'm like, Jesus,
Yeah.
you know.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, So they're not
The
these
Old
evil,
West,
they're
man.
not these evil bastards, but their
No.
main job, right, is to
Right.
be able to decipher what you're doing, work with the artist, and give it to the, because they're kind of the last person touching it. Is that kind of the idea?
This see if this is for all you guys. See if this scenario fits, because I use this a lot of shows. I always see the assembly of a comic book as, the artist is the lead singer, right? He's on the mic, he's the visible. The creator is normally the drummer, because he's carrying the bass and he's carrying the rhythm of the book. The editor's off to the side as a bass guitarist, and like the letterers like over here working keyboards. Like they each have their own role, or it's like a NASCAR team, right? Everybody's got their role and everybody knows their role. And like you said with the Batman book, that was some of the best times, because everybody knew their role.
Everybody's on the same page.
And everybody clicked along. So is that kind of how you guys see it, or is there a different scenario that you think that would make more sense for people that of the groupings of a comic book, how it comes together?
Well, when it works best, I mean, there's two kinds of editors. There's the kind of editor who has faith in you and they hire you and they let you do your work, and they only step in if they see you going the wrong way. Then the other kind of editor who wants to stand over your shoulder telling you how to write everything. And I can't work for that second kind of editor. I can't do it. I tried, but I can't do it. So I work for the guy who has faith in me. And if your editor has faith in you, you can do anything. Because you're not second guessing yourself all day long.
Yeah.
Here's a
he knows I'm good, so I'll just keep going.
But here's a good question. Says, as a new comic book writer, I know little nothing about the process of hiring an art for the art team for a project. Besides having the money to pay, are there any other tips that I might know, to do the search and hiring process? That's a really good question.
That is actually a really good question.
Yeah, find out what their deadline history is.
Oh.
And also, you've got to see continuity pages. I mean, a lot of guys will show you all these portfolio pieces, and it's all like single figures or two figures. It's like
panels.
Can you tell a story? Let me see you tell a story. They used to have a story that they would give prospective artists at Marvel as a 7-page story, and it didn't matter who was in it or whatever. But what it had in it was airplanes, cars, old people, children, animals, and all these things in it that every wannabe artist avoids drawing. So you had to draw them, to show you could do it.
It's funny. I was helping one of my clients. She was trying to find an artist. And so she had this list that we were going through of these artists that she was excited about. And they went from the one she was most excited about down to the least. And so she said, this is my top guy. I really want him. And so I looked over his portfolio and I was like, okay, cool. He's a no. And she was like, what? No, he's my favorite. And I said, yeah, I don't care. If you're asking my opinion, he's a no. And she's like, why? And I said, because he has 2 pages of panels.
Yeah.
So we don't actually know what he can do. And I said, honestly, there's nothing dynamic about his panels. It's block, 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 block. There's nothing special in his storytelling. I said, you want some exciting, interesting storytelling. And unless this person has something else to show, he's got nothing to tell you. And she was like, I never would have seen that. And I was like, yeah. And you're dead on there, Chuck.
Yeah.
Finding those panel pages and making sure that they can actually do panels and dynamic panel pages is so huge and such an important part of it.
Because you're right, Panu, because there's not everybody can do sequential art. It's not always a thing. That question, I just had it. That question came from Brian Mano. We appreciate that question.
He's such a good dude. He pops up on my show a lot. Great guy. The other thing for that, Brian, is contracts. Contracts are so important. Have contracts set, but understand that when you're doing a contract, you're keeping them in check and you're keeping you in check. This really is about finding that fine line, that fair substance where you're going to tell them what the deadlines are, but also that means your deadlines for paying them and making sure that they're, the compensation and all that kind of stuff. So really go over that, because if you send them the wrong contract, it's just as easy as them going, nah, I'm out. So make sure that you have something that is going to be fair and going to work for all parties.
Definitely. Well, let's do a round robin real quick. What I want to do is, in closing, let Mr. Dixon tell us a little bit more about archiving his thoughts there, and then we'll close a little bit more with a little bit more about Ask Chuck. So if you'd like to touch upon those couple things, because I know those are near and dear, and we want to make sure that those get out there for everybody, and then we'll kind of do each of us do a last question, then we'll let you go.
Well, Arctoons, like I said, it's a free digital comics platform. It's high res. You can read these things on the big screen TV in your family room or den, but the resolution's that crystal clear. And we've got every kind of genre. We got superheroes if you want them. Got lots of that, but we got horror, suspense, espionage, humor. I'm doing a thing. It's a science fiction heist story called Something Big. I'm doing another thing. It's a 60s retro, like drive-in movie thing called Go Monster Go. I have a title that's starting tomorrow called My Sister Suprema. It's basically a superhero story about sibling rivalry. And but we got all kinds of stuff, new episodes every week of every series. I guarantee you, if you check it out, you're going to find something there you want to follow every week.
Now, is this a collaboration of just any artist and their stories, or is it all based in like a universe per se? Like, what is it all about?
Some of the books take place in a shared universe.
Okay.
We have some publishers. We have a publisher from Brazil who's contributing, and there's the All Hero universe, and some of our other books are going to will reveal if they're in the same universe as the series go on.
Okay.
For crossovers and stuff, but it's really it's the way comics used to be. It's every genre imaginable. I mean, we have a romantic comedy that I'm writing called Silencioso.
Oh, fun!
It's about a school of assassins set in like a mythical Renaissance Italy, which is real different for me, but I'm having fun writing it.
Yeah,
that's what counts, man.
Yeah, and then we have a bunch of stuff where they have me presenting basically public domain comics I like. So we're presenting them digitally, comics from the 40s and 50s. Okay. So there's a ton of material, and we're well past 2 million views, and we've really only been around a few months.
That is nice. Yeah. Well, congrats on that, man. That's a big accomplishment.
Fantastic. That's so cool. So cool. Well done.
Tell everybody a little bit about Ask Chuck Dixon, kind of the format of that show.
Well, people, they either email me or ask on the videos, or they ask on Facebook, and I just compile questions. And I usually answer like 6, 7, 8 questions. It's every Wednesday morning it pops up. And I just recorded my 80th one.
Oh, good job. Yeah, it's awesome.
And a couple of them got controversial, so of course they got shared all over the place. I did one on manga that got shared all the way into Japan. So my subscribers like doubled within a week.
Okay.
That's awesome.
Do you ever bring anybody on that show, or is that more?
No, I haven't I'm not very sophisticated. I record them. I don't do any animation or anything else. I'm literally
press record.
Yeah, and I'm putting the images up live as I'm doing it.
Okay, nice.
That's great, dude. Hell yeah. No, that's fantastic.
Yeah, but it's fun, and I thought I'd do it for a little while, but the questions keep coming, and the questions.
There you go. You'll be in the triple digits before too long. So.
Oh yeah.
Now you do know, just so you know, Chuck D, that there is a function inside of YouTube that allows people to ask you questions and they'll pay you. Did you know that?
Yes, I did know that.
You may want to consider.
That's the next episode called Pay Chuck Dixon.
yeah, exactly. I'm going to refer you from ask to pay.
Yeah, to pay. So, PayChuckDixon.com.
Yeah, I'm going to start doing the asking.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. Well, because, and everybody listening, I think, would agree, and watching, of course, is you can't pay for experience. Right. You have to have gone through it. And so if you can limit yourself, right? If you can give me 10 years bump and I can give you $500, totally worth my $500, right? Right.
It's true.
So it's a good way to maybe look at it too, Chuck.
So it'd be to go to comic school with Chuck Dixon, but
I think we're
to go to Chuck Dixon. See, there's a whole thing there. See,
there you go.
Go to Chuck Dixon school.
Oh yeah.
Well, there's a Kubrick school, so I mean it could be a Chuck Dixon school.
Why not?
Just saying.
Well, you got a hell of a resume. So if I can ask one last question to you,
sure.
And it comes kind of back to what you had said earlier as far as writer's block. I think that there's a point in all of our lives when we're doing something that we love, but we also question ourselves, right? We also say, is this really what I want to do? Am I really very good at it? Like, so kind of explain or talk about, maybe a little bit about your history, and because I relate it to the roller coaster, right? Life is fun because it's a roller coaster. It goes up and down.
Right.
That's the point of a roller coaster. So with such a longevity of being, in this world, just talk a little bit about that. I'm just curious.
I mean, at a very young age, I fell in love with comics, and comics became a second language to me. And I really never wanted to do anything else other than work in comics. So I just aimed myself at it. I worked in advertising. I worked in children's books. I worked as a janitor. I worked as a security guard. I drove an ice cream truck. I mean, whatever. I didn't go to college, so I had no marketable skills. And it just was throwing myself at comics. And the only thing I really wanted out of comics, other than the fact that I get to tell my stories, is that someday I may be able, I get to work with these other professionals and get the respect of my peers. So the people I was working with liked working with me, and they enjoyed
I'm on your level now. I had to work here, but I'm on your level now.
Yeah. So it's, and then it went beyond my wildest dreams. I mean, I've worked with Joe Kubert. I worked with John Severin. I worked with Russ Heath. I worked with John Buscema. I mean, my God, teach me I'm dreaming. And when I got into business, I was aware. I really didn't go full time until I was like 32. So I'd had some time to get some life experience, and I understood there was a window of opportunity. And if I could get 5 years of comics, I'd be happy. And I think I got like a 15-year window. So I'm a very lucky guy.
Tripled it for sure.
Yeah. I'll toss the next question to you, Mr. Panu. You go ahead.
Yeah,
and fire away with your last question.
Yeah.
Well, I had to have one ready, huh?
Yeah.
Well, I can do one if you don't.
Why don't you go ahead and I'll think of one while you're doing that.
You pop it into we'll end it with yours.
It's the pink headphones, bro. Something about them.
It's, to me, mine's more of just a thank you, a general thank you from all of us that you inspired, as coming up as a child, and just the way you shaped that with us. And it's just a general from all of us, just a thank you, because my comic book collection, as I showed you before, is just filled with your work. And I just
your
like
stories give meaning and purpose and fun,
it's just an overall
escapism. So it is a thank you to that you kept going.
So mine's not so much, like I said, a question. It's just basically a hats off to the work that you've done, the work that you're going to do. Always been a fan, continue to be a fan, and we appreciate you being on the show and sharing your story with us and sharing your story with the listening audience.
Well, the greatest compliment I ever get is when someone says, I was going through my comic book collection and I didn't realize how many comic books I had that were written by you. And it's a great compliment to me because they didn't seek me out. They just liked the stories. Yeah.
See,
they didn't really put it all together. They didn't
love that so much.
It's like, I'm going to buy everything this guy wrote or everything that guy wrote. No, they weren't looking for me. They were looking for the stories. When they found that they liked it, so they kept buying the stuff. So
I had a mix because there were some things I already knew that were yours. And as I'm reading up and doing my research, I found other things that like you said, that I had that I didn't know. And some of the stuff in my wife's collection. I was like, honey, did you know about Birds of Prey? And that there's and just all these other things that her and I talked about that we both didn't realize that you had done.
Well, so, I remember once in the 70s, I was going through my own comic book collection. Finally, I moved out of my parents' house and I had to sort the thing out and everything else. And I thought I was this huge Marvel fan. To me, it was Fantastic Four, Spider-Man, everything else. And I'm sorting the comics and I realized, man, I really like Brave and the Bold. I have like every issue. And I never even thought about it. I like Brave and the Bold. So, yeah, it's a great compliment. But no thanks are necessary. None of this was work to me.
See, so. I love that so much because it's not work. It's just me, right? It's just a part of, it's not a work-life balance. It's a work-life harmony, right? It just is a part of me, and this is what I do. And have you had the family support throughout the years? Absolutely. We've talked about that with every artist, haven't we, Kevin? As far as your family's there with you. Y'all may go lock yourself in a room in the dark and start writing stuff, but
it's great to hear these.
Things still keep going on upstairs.
It's great to hear these stories because someone like Stephen Butler, who's been he's been not necessarily working, but he's been a contractor for all these different ones, right? And just we were talking the other day about it, and I got the chance to meet him when I was 16. And him and Peter David came to my local comic book shop. And this is what I always jokingly say is my line is, I met Peter David before he was Peter David. Okay? So that being said, they were both nobodies at the time. You know, Steven had just signed really on with Marvel, had maybe done a year with him. He had just released the Silver Sable title. So that's the book I got signed. And then Peter David was signing, he signed I want to say that I don't want to get 1,000 emails because I quoted the wrong number here. So, but I'm going to say it off the top of my head. I want to say it's 377, but it's the Hulk green cover that everybody wants when Banner became Professor Hulk, right?
Right.
So that issue I've got signed in silver, right in the Black Hulk shot silhouette of to Kevin from Peter David.
Cool.
And it went in a box and has not seen the light of day for 30 years. And I slid it out in a dark room at my dad's house, and it's pristine. If it's not a 10-0 from CGC, I'd be surprised because it's never been read. It has no spine ticks. It's never been opened, and the green is just brilliant, bright green. Beautiful. And I love that kind of stuff. And I'm a signature junkie, so that's you saw that a while ago with all the ones I had from you. It's it's neat to hear everybody's stories. And then I went back and talked with Steven about it because Steven and I still talk to this day. And I'm 48 now, I was 16 back then. And just to talk about y'all's careers together and to hear things and, get a message sometime. I mean, and like I said, I'm, just always humbled by, getting messages out of the blue from guys like you about this or that. It's just great to be in with the ability to be able to talk to you guys that have all, like I said, had such an impact on everybody. So. Yeah,
I was going through comics like a year ago with my youngest son, and we're just going through, and he's looking at him as I'm taking him out of the box, and he opens Demon #1, and he says, "Did you know this is signed?" And I was like, "Yeah, I forgot that was signed." Because there's Jack Kirby.
Yeah. Wow.
Completely forgot that I got that sign.
Wow. That's you never and what's fun with these conversations, like you said, books and conversations lead to other books. Like there was a conversation we had last episode was I didn't realize how much of an impact that Dan and Gary had Dan Miskin and Gary Cohen had on the creation of the Blue Devil. So I mean that whole thing turned into a Blue Devil conversation, and talking, and they brought talk about Paris and everything. So now Paris is in on my friends list now, and so it's
Paris is awesome.
Yeah, and it's just
what a guy.
One of the guys coined what all this is a lot of times is comic centric.
I'll tell you,
this person.
I'll tell you a Paris story.
Uh-oh, here we go.
When Desert Storm happened, this guy was an executive at a record company, and he wanted to do a comic book about superhero in Desert Storm fighting in Iraq. And I brought in Paris Cullen because he's a vet. Yeah. And so we wrote, and he drew a lot of this comic book. And then the war was over so fast.
Yeah, I was like, it's the fastest war in history.
The guy just canceled it. But boy, oh boy, did he pay through the nose. Because I'm like, record executive, okay. Our page rates just tripled.
Exactly.
And Paris is such an action-filled, artist. I mean, when he draws, this guy's all force.
This guy brought us into his office. Biggest mistake he could have made in his life. He had this big Fifth Avenue office, huge windows, and there's posters of all of the clients. There's Joan Jett and Aerosmith and everything else. And we're just hearing cha-ching, cha-ching.
Yeah, you're like, thanks, bro. You got some cash to spend? Well, we got some cash to charge.
You're like hang on, add a zero. You're scratching through stuff on the invoice and just out the door.
Exactly. No, well, we thank you so much, for real. It has been a pleasure. I mean, so many great, man, everybody listening and viewing, you may want to re-listen to this a couple times because Chuck,
you're gonna
these
miss
little
some
nuggets. And everybody listening, I would appreciate these little nuggets of experience.
Well,
and,
again, that's what we're, this is part of what we call the Titans of Industry series.
Yeah,
and, we have some, and you'll hear, after the show, you hear the previews of the books that are coming out and the books that are launching today. Yeah. But we'd like to have a mix. We'd like to have the educational part, the historical part. We'd like to hear from the guys, like I said, that've been there, done that, for the new up and comers and that kind of thing. But we try to well round it that way. So again, appreciate that. And then Mr. Panu, again, I'll yield the floor to you Did you come up with your final question?
Yeah, I
sir?
was gonna say, bro.
So, I did, but here's the funny thing: the thank you is such a perfect way to end it, and then you throw it to a guy like me who I have a show called Shop Talk, so of course I'm gonna hit you with a nut and bolt question because that's just what I do and what I'm interested in. So what I would come to you at is I would say, how has the art of the pitch for you changed since the beginning of your career to now? What has kind of changed in the process of making a good pitch?
Well, every big book I've ever gotten on, they came and asked me if I wanted to write it, so I didn't have to pitch.
Wow.
Because I write the worst pitches ever.
Kind of a big deal.
And the thing is that, there are guys that write great pitches that can't write comics to save their life. That's great. I've read them. I've read pitches like, man, this is going to be awesome. And the comic comes out and you're like, what the hell happened?
Yeah.
And Denny O'Neil shared this with me one time. I had pitched something. And Denny said, we went to the editorial meeting and we read over your pitch and no one liked it.
You're like, damn, bro. That was a little harsh.
And then Archie Goodwin said, Chuck's pitches are always terrible, but he always delivers on the script.
All right, like, so you got to have a pitch man and a script man.
Respect of my peers. It's all I ever wanted.
There you go.
Archie Goodwin, my writing idol, said that I was okay.
You're like, yeah, I don't suck.
But I recently worked for a company like 3 years ago, and my job was writing nothing but pitches, so I'm better at it now.
Well, I'll tell you in that same vein, since you said that, I got to laugh because when you gave me the compliment, when you saw the ad with the stuff with Bane and told me it looked good, I was done for the day. I told Panu the same thing. I was like, look, I told Brandon, I was like, I'm not doing anything else today.
I win.
I'm shutting the computer down. One of my idols in the business has said it, so I'm done. I'm done.
Being checked off.
I'll gild my own lily one more time. I did a job with Stan Lee, and we were going to do this, the Governator. It was Arnold Schwarzenegger as a superhero. And we all know how that
that'd be hard to do.
Well, we all know how that ended because Arnold got involved with the housemate, and that was the end of that.
Yep,
but we did, I wrote 3 issues, and 2 issues got drawn. And at one point, it was Stan Lee and his ensemble. And we're on this conference call. And I hate conference calls because you never know who's talking. And everybody talks over each other. And all these guys, I didn't know
who's talking.
Yeah, I didn't know who any of these guys were. And they're offering me advice. And they're arguing back. And they're arguing with me about stuff and everything else. And then Stan cuts in and says, guys, Chuck knows what he's doing.
Yeah, just chill. Like, pump your brakes.
Cool.
Like,
there you go. You were like, I'm done.
You're like,
I was intolerable for the rest of the day.
Did you hear what he said?
Right. I recorded it, actually, if you want to hear it again.
That's awesome. Yeah, you can't. It doesn't get much better than that, man.
No, it does not. It does not.
I was. That's just You just drop the mic after that and walk away. And you're done. That's it.
Great job. Thank you for everything you've done. For real, I guess there's lots of thank yous from everybody listening to, getting that itch out of your brain. And I guess everybody listening, right, Chuck? You'd say if you have that itch in your brain, just get it out. Put it somewhere.
All you need is the burning desire to tell a story. You don't have to go to college and learn how to do it or anything else.
Get it out of your noggin.
Start writing. Just do it.
Just get out there and do it. Well,
if you don't write, you rewrite. I mean, if what you write beginning sucks, you just go back and rewrite it till it's good.
There you go. Awesome.
Yeah, I love it.
Well, thanks again for your time, and you're more than welcome to stick around the green room and check out the previews of some of these other creators coming out. But
we got some good, dude.
We got some. It is a killer. I'm just looking at the board
out here, man.
There is.
I just hats off.
There's 1, 2, 3, 4 books ending this month into next month.
Yeah, we've been killing it.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's 7 books launching in October, just October alone, and that's it's not filled up yet.
And Chuck, I think that you would agree that there's a different dynamic now because you can get to publishing very fast now. You can get stuff out digitally or way faster than before, to where they're like, F the editor, we're just going to put it up here and just see how people like it, right?
Yeah, well,
So-
it's the way to go. It's then you just have to fight to get noticed.
Exactly.
Well, we're going to try to spread some of that notice on this preview
Spread some
section.
love.
So,
All right.
again, sir, awesome. We'll talk again. Welcome to come on anytime.
Thanks everybody
And,
for listening.
Yep,
Got some good nuggets here, everybody.
Definitely have me back.
Thanks.
This was fun.
We will get. Thanks again, Mr. Dixon.
Okay.
Thank you.
Awesome.
See you down
Cheers.
the road.
Thanks. See ya.
Awesome. What a fun guy he is, man. I heard he was genuine, and that just proved it.
Yeah.
Let's just get on to some of the previews that are out there. And Chuck, if you're more than welcome to stick around for this as well, because we're going to talk about some of your stuff too.
Yeah.
So, I'll tell you what, we can start off with your stuff.
Yeah, let's do some- yeah,
Essence
what do you
House
got
has just
going
been
on, brah?
killing it.
Thank you. Yeah. No. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we actually had to change the name because Essence House. It turns out we made Essence House, and originally it was just going to be.
It's a trademark name.
Well, yeah. So
Oh,
we
hell,
called
you're
it Essence House.
it.
For those of you guys, well, no. We didn't have to change it for that. We
Okay.
we own
Okay.
that, but we had to change it because we realized that Essence House was only the first part of the story.
Gotcha. That makes
So
sense.
by the time we were done season 2, that
This
was a whole
doesn't
book,
bring-
but we were moving beyond the house. It was all about finding out about what the essence is and the world and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so there's
So
no
we
need
actually had to change that.
yeah.
What's
Okay.
Yeah, we didn't
do you
wanna
feel
hold
like
ourselves
unveiling
back.
the new name yet, or is
I was
that
gonna say, what's the new name, bro?
is that ready to unveil yet, or you want to keep that for a different
come
episode?
on.
Well, no. The new name is out there, so I have no problem saying because we just finished season 3, or we're just about to. So the new name is Chronicles of the Essence Guard,
Okay.
and that's the name of the overarching world, basically. You know,
Now-
the series.
Which
Essence
one?
House was the
Okay, it's actually the first part of the first leg. Okay.
Yep.
The second leg is called what now?
second leg is called Children of the Essence, and it
Okay.
just so happens that for those of you out there who are big Kevin Gillette fans, you'll actually find that he is a character in there, and yeah.
Kevin, your
He-
dream has came true.
He's been added in there. His I don't want to go too far into it,
Yeah,
but
I was
Kevin
looking
Gillette
for it.
is
I
in
don't
there.
have it. I don't have it handy, or I was going to show it. But yeah,
You will be in what is going to be the second book, which is seasons 3 and 4. So what it is, for those of you guys who don't know, it is Chronicles of the Essence Guard is an audio drama. And
Okay.
so we do 10 episode seasons. We just finished season 3, or we're just about to. Episode 10 is coming out next Wednesday.
Okay.
And so what is really cool about that is,
you're reading this, or you have somebody reading
am I reading
to
it?
you? You're reading it to
no,
the
no.
audience?
When they listen to it, who's giving the voices?
Oh,
to this?
I initially wanted to because I'm a cheap bastard and I like my own voice,
Well, but you can,
but,
and you're the man. Yeah.
right? But we ended up getting a professional. His name is Michael Goodrick,
Uh-huh.
and he's absolutely amazing. He does terrific voice work, and he has that kind of cadence, and it's really
This
cool.
is the
Like he
voice of
really,
Essence House.
yeah, he's very professional, really good guy in it. And you know what? Let's be honest. When you're working on something, it's always nice to have other people involved because then they can help push it and
Yep.
talk about it. So
The
and
energy.
he-
Yeah, for sure.
yeah, and he's been really cool because he doesn't know what we're doing. He finds out as soon as he picks up a script. So I remember there was a character that was killed off, and he actually messaged us, and he was like,
He's like,
"Dude, that was my favorite guy. No
I've
way!"
been
And I
talking
was
this
like,
guy's name for the last 10 hours,
Right.
bro. How dare
He's like,
you?
"I love that guy." Well, and that's the funny thing. Yeah, we have like over
Who-
10 hours of
yeah, I was gonna say,
of
to
stuff,
read
and
a
it's
book
all
is
for
a
free.
lot. Yeah.
Yeah. So you can find it on any of the podcast
Yep,
networks.
that's what I was fixing to ask.
And
Yep.
our idea was,
yeah.
yeah, you can find it on any of the podcast networks. And as we were doing it, we got partway through season 1, and I told my partner Eric Cockrell, great dude. I told him, dude, like we really want to do this, but the plan that we've created, season 1 is going to end on a really big cliffhanger. So why don't we just decide we're going to do 2 seasons, no matter what? we'll work it so that the end of season 2 has a nice, tight ending. We can still leave some strands open,
Sure.
but as far as that whole thing is concerned, it's tight and finished. And if we want to come back to it, we can. That way, if we do have ideas, we can continue on. But if we're done, we're done. And he was like, "That's a brilliant idea." And I was like, "Cool, we'll turn it into a novel." And that's what we did. But
Which
the problem
I got
was,
my first one in
we
just
got
a few days ago. That's what I was hunting for. I was like, "Oh, where's
good.
that?"
Good. I'm glad, man. So we got partway through season 2, and we went, well, we started talking about season 3. And we realized what that was going to look like and what that was. And so we just went, all right, cool. And so now we've got it basically planned out. There's going to be at least 3 books, and actually 4, because I can't talk too much about this, but we have seasons 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 kind of
okay. You just
plotted
said 4
out.
and now okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's-
so we've got
yeah.
we've got plotted out to 6, the basic plots and whatnot. But then on top of that, we've gone and we have talked to some great writer friends who we appreciate. Oh, Brandon had enough. We've talked to some great writer friends who we really appreciate and love their work, and they're going to do an anthology of Essence stuff for our world. So we've got that anthology happening too.
That's awesome. Well,
So yeah, it's going good.
Are you gonna now tell everybody where they can get if they missed out on things? Tell people where they can go ahead and pick up the book now.
Yeah, throw a banner up there, Kevin. Do we got a banner we can scroll?
I don't think, but you know what?
Yeah,
you can find me at facebook.com/bonfirepress. That's my company. You can go check us out. Of course, you can find me, Chuck Pineau. You can find me on Facebook. You can find me on Twitter.
What about essencehousestory.com?
You can definitely go to essencehousestory.com, my friend. Well done. You're a keeper. Look at you.
We do research.
That's good, Brandon.
Who does that?
Say my first word.
That is good, dude. So, you can definitely go there and check it out and enjoy it there. If you guys don't want to check it out on the podcasts, of course, we also have it on YouTube. We did all that. And, of course, speaking of YouTube, I'm a part of this amazing NSC Roadshow. And so I have all these awesome guests on, and so many of your own creators, people like Frank Forte, and there you go, Frank Forte, and oh my goodness, so many. I'm suddenly like misremembering all the amazing people we've had on, but we've been able to have on a bunch of your.
Did you have Michael Moore on your show?
Yeah, I was going to say Michael Moore.
I did not, but I have interviewed him several times.
Okay.
And I do want to have him on the show. Absolutely.
Well, book him down because there's another book coming out soon.
Okay, cool.
I'll talk to you guys get together after this, but he's 100%. One of the ones on the board.
Yeah.
Okay, great. I've been able to talk to
that. I finally had to
Justin Gray. Justin Gray was one of them.
Is awesome.
Amazing dude.
Cool
so been able to work with a bunch of you guys.
Fun, and this is not planned, by the way, you guys, but I do happen to have that loaded in the queue. This is the show that Justin was on.
Yeah.
So there you go. And that was there's a lot of fun with this ad because we talked about that he was just being on the show for Spicy Pulp 5. And the bacon thing was that the bacon may be discussed at any time was because in Chuck's intro, there's a big thing about Canadian and the bacon and the whole 9 yards. So we had some fun with that ad, and that's actually a Canadian snapshot in the background. So,
that's great.
But that was, so as the road show, we help promote all the other groups in the road show and stuff like this. We bring other guest co-hosts on. Well, that sounded like a plane that time.
Yeah,
it's like
I'm not sure what's happening. It could be
It's like those 1940s radio shows where they have all these special.
I can only do so much.
We appreciate
my radio
show, man.
It's like my radio show because that's exactly what we do. We have all the sound effects and everything.
This is real life, people.
My favorite thing to do is when I'm writing the books, because I know that, my chapters, I know that Eric has to do the sound effects.
Yeah.
So I will find annoying things for him to try to find a sound effect for. And he's like, there was one point where the guys are in a car and I was like, what can I do to kind of screw with Eric. So
Yeah.
the guys got into a heated conversation in the car, and so because of that, he ended up switching lanes and almost getting run over by a Mack truck. And so of course the horn of the Mack truck is happening, and it has to go over top of the voice, and he has to find the right levels. And he's like, "Man, I hate you so much." So very fun.
It's fun when you find out some of the actual true nature of the sound effects. Like I read one time that the sound effects for Transformers was actually a Coke getting dispensed out of a Coke machine, and they just changed the speed of it. You know.
Well, that's like Chewbacca. Chewbacca is like a mixture of a seal, a lion, a bear. Like there's a bunch of different noises.
And Kenny from South Park.
Yeah,
no.
Yeah, certainly.
Well, let's show some of these, as you said, with the network. We're going to get into the preview section. Sometimes we do it before the show, sometimes after. But we had so many locked in there. We want to get Mr. Dixon to have his time, so we didn't want to load everything up in the front of the show, or like have you sit at the movies for 20 minutes as all this stuff plays out. Right. Exactly. So again, here's some of the other shows. Again, Shop Talk's featured on there. Earth Station 1's featured on there. Geekosity is new with us. Voodoo Lounge is a show that will be launching in October, which is we are in October now. So the middle to tail end of October, we're going to be launching Voodoo Lounge. And then some stuff happens on Comic Crusaders down there in Australia, which is so all of these different groups. And this is just a handful of the many, many wonderful people that are on there. So we're going to start off with the first one out is more like a Webtoon style platform where it's on Patreon and you get a page a week as it comes out. And that's Mara. And most of these we have videos for. So I'll be running back and forth between here and the video lounge, and here is the intro for Mara.
60 seconds.
Sorry. See, there's about live. I clicked on the wrong one. That was the intro for Voodoo Lounge, but here's the true intro for Mara. Really fun, awesome, cool book. And here is another one. This is Spicy Pulp 6. And Spicy Pulp 6, you have only 4 days left to be able to get this book. This book is just killing it. There is several hundred backers, and it's in the 20s of thousands right now. And I just did not look at the last number. But here is the video for Spicy Pulp 6. If that doesn't just make you want to turn off this podcast and go buy it, I don't know what will. And here is a book that we're very happy for Justin about. This is Billy the Kid, which we helped him do the Kickstarter for this one. We did Ink.Marketing help handle this one, and it actually got picked up by Blue Juice. And this is the August version, page 297 of previews for those who still grab the previews from your local comic shop. And that book will be available soon in comic shops. So that book has been picked up, being produced, and will be at your local comic shop. So we're very, very proud of Justin for that. And Justin's one of those guys that even if he has 600, 800, 900 backers, he's putting everything together himself and getting it mailed out there. So hats off to him for that. He's getting it done, and he bleeds on every comic. So he's out there getting it done. This is another one. This one is new to us, and it just got funded. This is a really cool book. It's a hardbound edition, and it's just also got picked up as a Projects We Love. And that was the fourth one that came out of Inked Marketing as a Projects We Love, and the fifth one came right behind it. So we'll talk about that one real quick. We'll go ahead and play for you the video, which the video was used as the intro for the Kickstarter. So here's the video for Fox and Willow.
Sometimes a silent song is the most poignant. Continuing their journey to lift Gideon's curse, Willow and her fox companion have been tasked with escorting Princess Nuala to be wed to a prince from another kingdom. But despite Nuala's hopes of making a joyful union, not all is what it seems between the prince and his betrothed. When his mistress, a barefoot woman without a tongue, appears, a bond of friendship grows between the two ladies, even as a storm brews on the horizon. Written by Alison Pang and illustrated by Irma Amo Ahmed, Fox and Willow debuted in April 2012 and has maintained a strong fan base ever since, following the runaway princess Willow and her mischievous fox spirit companion, Gideon.
So there was Fox and Willow. And then also right now, that one is still alive. You have 6 days left to pick up Fox and Willow. And the next one on the board is Pilus. And Pilus is an anthology. It was the one that just got out there. And Pilus has another 26 days left, but it's already just blowing numbers out. So it's a great one to check out. Pilus does not have a video for it, but I just want to go ahead and show you Pilus. The next one, that's just Starlight. Very excited about Starlight. Starlight just got funded. So that's a Travis Webb book. It just got out there. And we are very excited about that for that getting funded. And here is the video we'd like to show you for Starlight. So let me go ahead and pull that up for you.
You remember the Ultra Kids? That high-flying, superpowered jewel of Mighty Boy and the Melter? Remember their kids' superhero adventures? Show me your power.
Believe.
So that was a lot of fun. These are all a lot of fun to collaborate with the creators on all these different videos and to get that together. All but one of these video clips is something that Inked Marketing has worked with Fallout Studios, our other sister company, on how to produce these. And it's just been a lot of fun to be able to get those out there. And you know, creators enjoy watching their different creations come to life. So that's always been a lot of fun to be able to do that. And here's a quick little one we put together this is for the cover that Ron Rondell did. And this is just a quick little kind of how it got started to where it ended. So check this out. Show me your power. Just a quick little clip on to show you how that how covers come together from creation to fruition. And that's been a really good book for him. And Ron was so cool about doing that cover for those guys. And I'm a big Ron Rondell fan. He was on the show again. You know, Brandon, I got a chance to sit down and talk to him again. Just another genuine guy who's been there, done that for a lot of this. And for a lot of these videos, like I said, I mentioned Fallout Studios, right? Fallout Studios is a new venture that Fallout Studios and Vanilla Groove Media came together, and we produced these videos for many of these creators. Anything from Mono Michael Moore to Justin Gray to even the up and newcomers. All of these guys were getting together and helping bring their artwork to life. So that's been a lot of fun for us. So we say thank you for that. Be sure to tune in. You'll hear more about Fallout Studios in episodes to come. And then let's get to there's a couple of coming soons that we're going to hit upon. And
there is
it
so
just,
many
the
people
list keeps
making
on.
so many cool things, man.
It's just unreal to catch any of these, even if it's in the current existing live now or the coming soon. We want to make sure that you roll over here. So go over to inks.marketing, swing over to the gallery page, and then once you get to the gallery page, hit live now, and that brings you to all of these you've seen. You can also go back and see some old Comic Writery episodes on, people like Kevin Eastman and stuff like that. So make sure you go to the live now page and you can catch all those great things. Also, too, when you're in there, go ahead and swing over to the Contact Us page and make sure to request a solutions guide if you're a creator out there, so you can hear what ink marketing can do for you.
We've got a lot of good things in there. Let me just reiterate, if you are a creator, you definitely need to just grab the guide. Get the guide.
Just get it. Just click on solutions. Just click on,
learn how we know what we're doing. So there's a reason it's called solutions. So
we just swing over the Ink Solutions Guide. It's almost as thick as a comic. So I actually kind of cut it down. We're at 16 pages now, but I kind of cut it back a little bit. But it's got a lot of meat and potatoes in there, and a lot of things. It's got a lot of testimonials in there. So a lot of people that come to market can check on us and talk to other people. We actually ask people, hey, before you come do stuff with us, talk to some of the other people we've done stuff for, and just get straight from the horse's mouth. Hear from them, because they're much better pitchers than we are for ourselves some days. So